You're listening to the Seahawks Insiders, getting you ready for Seahawks football every Sunday. Presented by Delta, the official airline of the Seahawks. Now, here's your host, Jen Mueller.
Welcome to a new episode. John Boyle, I feel re-energized. I feel rested. I also feel like, once again, I have no idea what day of the week it is because we did not play on a Sunday.
It's Thursday, Jen.
It is Thursday.
You're welcome.
Yes, John, thank you.
Happy to help.
Yep, I feel like that mini bye, that was a gift.
That is
I
nice.
also feel like this week's matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that is a gift as well, just because of what it means for both franchises.
Yeah, I mean, we're celebrating the 50th season this year, obviously, and playing the team that also is celebrating its 50th season, a couple of 1976 expansion teams. And my goodness, that uniform matchup we have going on, the throwbacks for both teams, it is gorgeous.
And let me just point out, for those of you who don't know how NFL schedules are set, this was predetermined years ago.
Yeah, just the way the rotation works.
It just so happened that it worked out perfectly that both teams that played in the 1976 Expansion Bowl are once again going to be on the field together.
Yeah.
Steve Rabel. Part of that game.
Yes.
Unfortunately, no stats recorded.
Wow,
so
Jen,
I can't
you had to
I
go
know.
there.
Well, because everybody was thinking it. I know that you were thinking it. What did Steve do in that game? I haven't the slightest idea.
We can't find
He's going to tell you about it in the game, though.
We'll have to find the video.
We'll have to find
I'm sure he ran some good routes, maybe threw a
1976?
good block on a run play. I don't know.
Right. Side note, I was thinking 1976. That's been a while. That was 2 years before I was born. Mm-hmm. And then Coach mentioned
just
it was
giving
11.
that away on the podcast.
I know. I'm just. And then Coach mentioned it was 11 years before he was born. And I said, well,
we got a young head coach.
I'm out of this conversation. And history is happening at the Ticketmaster tailgate. Welcome back to the top 50 players in Seahawks history as they walk the blue carpet. And do not miss a special performance by Seattle's own Sir Mix-a-Lot, presented by AAA Washington, starting at 11 a.m. This is also just a really interesting matchup in general, John. When you take a look at how the defenses stack up, the extra rest the Seahawks have gotten, and just kind of where these teams are after 4 games. Yeah,
I mean, 2 teams, 3-1, that have won different ways. The Buccaneers are like the hard attack team. I think all 3 of their wins, they scored inside the final minute to take the lead. As Mike pointed out, some similarities defensively between these teams, just stylistically and kind of the way they attack. But yeah, I mean, this is a really good test, really, for both teams, and kind of to figure out the pecking order of the NFC.
Yeah, when you talk about a really good defense, the Bucs, well, they are among the best in the league when it comes to rushing defense. In fact, they have not allowed a running back to go for more than 50 yards in a game this year. And they are averaging just 85 rushing yards a game allowed.
Yeah.
It is going to be a tough test.
Yeah, 2 really good run defenses. Seahawks, that's been a big story this year from where they were last year. I think opponents are at 3.6 a carry. Nobody scored a rushing touchdown on the Seahawks so far this year.
Yep, that's us knocking on wood.
Yeah.
What we believe to be wood. Yep.
Yeah, there might be some wood in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, it's 5
test.
and 6,
Yeah.
right? If you're looking at run defense, Tampa Bay's 5, Seattle 6.
Yeah.
It is right there. And it was pretty easy for Coach Mike McDonald to point to the similarities that he has with Todd Bowles and his defense.
Well, like I said, I think we share a lot of the same principles. They play really hard. They play physical. He calls it aggressively. They got great personnel. They play complementary ball. They attack the football. So a lot of great stuff that they're doing on defense.
Yeah, I mean, again, Todd Bowles is a great defensive coordinator. He's done a lot of good things. And it turns out Mike McDonald tried to recruit his son, we found out, to Michigan, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I mean, these are 2 defenses that will find ways to make things confusing on a quarterback. They will be aggressive, and as we just said, they're going to be tough to run on. So good test for both offenses.
They are, however, an injured group on that Tampa side of things. There were 6 Bucs players that were injured last week against the Eagles, 5 of those on defense. We obviously won't know everybody's status until game day, but I am wondering how next man up looks with a defense that wants to be aggressive, that wants to attack, that knows that they're in for a really loud environment on Sunday. This might not be the same Bucs team that we've seen.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, to their credit, they've played through a lot of injuries, especially some big names on offense, some of their best offensive linemen, Mike Evans. A lot of these guys have been banged up, and they've found ways to keep winning. So I think they probably, much like we talked about the Seahawks and kind of the mentality they've had when they were missing a bunch of guys in their secondary, and you had guys Ty Okada, D'Anthony Bell, Darian Kendrick stepping up. Like, that's good teams figure out ways to win through that, and Tampa Bay so far has. But yeah, another tough test. A big advantage for the Seahawks. Seahawks coming off a Thursday game, pretty healthy. They got a few injury question marks, but pretty healthy and rested. Tampa Bay's so beat up, they had to do a walkthrough yesterday instead of regular Wednesday practice. So that's, the plus. Thursday games are tough to get ready for, but the plus is you come off of that, and it's a pretty nice little edge. Which
is why when everybody said, man, I wish they would have won by a larger margin, I would just say Thursday night's all you're trying to do is survive in advance.
Escape with a win, yep.
Just survive in advance. And while things look pretty good on the injury front for the Seahawks, at least right now, it is challenging for the Bucs. It might even be challenging for your fantasy team. But don't worry, we have you covered with our fantasy insider, Scott Engel.
Thanks, Jen and John, and welcome back to Fantasy Football Week 5. We have buys and a lot of injuries to deal with. So I'm going to give you some streamers and guys you can plug in. All of my recommendations are based on fantasy points against, NFL defensive rankings, etc. And we start at quarterback. Justin Fields is a must-start this week for the New York Jets against the worst pass defense in the NFL as the Jets face the Dallas Cowboys. Also, consider Jackson Dart of the New York Giants. The rookie last week showed some rushing potential and is a very good matchup against the New Orleans Saints. At running back, Michael Carter of the Arizona Cardinals was a hot pickup of the week. He's a top 25 running back this week for me. He's got a really good matchup against Tennessee. Plug him in if you need a plug-in starter or a flex. Also, Zach Charbonnet of the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks offense could score a good amount of points against Tampa Bay, and Charbonnet could get in the end zone once or twice. Don't hesitate to stream him this week. Nice deep wide receiver play. Alex Pierce is coming back from a concussion for Indianapolis. He's got a really good matchup against the Raiders. Plug him in if you need wide receiver help. And Jamison Williams, you have to start him against the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are always a good target to start fantasy players against. And at tight end, Darren Waller, 2 touchdowns last week in his Dolphins debut. Roll him out there this week again. For more information from me, Seahawks Fantasy Insider now runs twice a week. Waivers on Monday, stardom on Friday, where you can check out everything in depth, and also check out my lineup rankings and my features on rotobowler.com. Thanks, and back to you, Jen and John, for Week 5, Seahawks and Buccaneers.
All right. Thank you, Scott. Now, of course, one of the reasons that Tampa has stayed in those games and has been the version of the heart attack kids, you have to look at Baker Mayfield. Yeah. And a few years ago, I would not have been saying that.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was going to happen with Baker.
No. I mean, he's a guy, number 1 pick. Things, he played a lot of games in Cleveland, did some really good stuff, but didn't really work out there for him. And, I mean, we can tie this back to the quarterback we've been watching every week in Seattle. Like, as Cooper Kupp told us, it's a hard position to play when you're young, because there's a good point. It's like every rookie, every young player makes mistakes. It's just so magnified as a quarterback. So if you're not in the right setting, teams either they give up on guys or they just try to find a new solution. And it's always cool to see these guys who get that. So it was Geno Smith here a few years ago. Now we've seen it with Sam Darnold in Minnesota. We're seeing it with Baker. It's like to see these guys who are like, oh, they were top picks for a reason. They're actually pretty good when they're supported well. They have a chance to grow and develop. And now we're seeing, 2 of the top quarterbacks in the NFC matching up who were drafted 2 picks apart and kind of flamed out with their first teams.
Well, and it's a lot of pressure on the quarterback. It's a lot of pressure on the people who made that selection.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
And so you've got all different levels of an organization who are trying to be right about their pick. And sometimes it takes a while to prove that you are right. And it has been really cool. I thought the story that Cooper told yesterday, and I'd kind of forgotten about this, but when the Rams brought Baker in at the end of the season, when everybody was banged up, and he comes in and he wins a game after after being in practice for 4 days. And I remember all of us talking about it going, there's no way. Mm-hmm. And then he totally lights the world on fire.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow. Like, you have to be not just a good football player, you have to be able to plug in at a different level to find that success.
Yeah, and that's going back to your initial point about their late game success. The same kind of mentality that can allow you to, or like kind of just the confidence you need and the trust in your ability to come in on, less than a week of preparation and lead a team to a win. That also shows up late in games when the game's on the line. One of these wins they had, fourth down game on the line, and he's scrambling around making plays. Like he's going to present some unique challenges to the Seahawks defense.
Well, certainly, because when you look at the numbers, since 2013, he has the fourth highest quarterback rating in the final 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. Of regulation, which is pretty impressive. He's also got the most games with 2 passing touchdowns or more since 2023. And right now he is tied for third with passing touchdowns in the league. And we talk so much about what you need to do to stop a guy like Aaron Rodgers, right? Or some of these big names. No, Baker Mayfield is an all-around player that presents plenty of challenges.
He's one of those guys that, like by our metrics on the extended play, how he plays extended plays, he's probably the best in the league right now. And so that's something you have to deal with. But he also plays on time. He's extremely accurate. He's got great arm talent. And then when he extends plays, obviously he's a great competitor, and he's got a playmaking element to his game later on in plays. So it's a tough guy to defend.
As Mike pointed out, he does the off-script stuff, but he has one of the faster average times to throw in the league this year. So he is really good on schedule. And then when he needs to make the plays, he can do it, which is that's a really deadly combo for a quarterback who can do all the stuff you want him to do in the pocket, process, get the ball out. But then when stuff goes south, he can improvise and do a heck of a job.
I was talking to Derek Hall about kind of the challenge, and he said when he decides to extend the play by running, he runs like a running back. Mm-hmm. And so you really do. He said the only other guy in the league that has a similar running style is Josh Allen. And you watch, he said Lamar a little bit. Of course, Lamar hurt right now with that hamstring injury. You watch just kind of how they do it. They're not going to give themselves up. You have to be ready to attack. The other thing I think is interesting is because of his ability to extend plays, that rush really has to be in sync. Playing the Bucs in week 5, huge advantage for that Seahawks pass rush because they've had 4 weeks to get together, whether it's the presentations right before the game or it's just them in-game making those adjustments on rush lanes and rush plans. Way better suited to face a guy like Baker Mayfield. And I was talking to Drew Lock, scout team quarterback, and I was like, okay, what are you going to do? He goes, I love to run around. And you know what? They can't hit me at practice, so it doesn't matter if I run like a running back or not.
And I think it also really helps who you just played in your last game.
Yes.
You just played a very mobile, creative quarterback who you have to rush with a lot of discipline in Kyler Murray. So that should help getting that under their belt.
I happen to concur. And I also think
thanks, Jen.
that it is time to take a break and hear a word from our presenting sponsor.
Seattle is a city wired for change, where innovation drives the everyday, and Delta is proud to invest in that momentum. With nonstop flights to over 60 global destinations from Seattle, Delta connects you to the world. With thoughtfully designed cabins, premium service, and a seamless travel experience, all while supporting the community you call home. So your travel time feels more like me time. Delta, flying Seattle forward. Visit delta.com or download Delta's app to book your next trip.
We will be celebrating 50 seasons of Seahawks football this week, and at halftime, we are honoring the top 50 players in Seahawks history with a special on-field ceremony presented by AAA Washington. By the time we get to halftime, I hope that there are a couple of Seahawks takeaways, John, because they've been really good on that front.
They have, yeah. 7 interceptions. I looked this up. What does that rank in the league? It's up 2, number 2, tied for 2 or 2. But either way. 7 interceptions through. I remember last year, this time, conversation was, we're not getting the takeaways we need. They had a few in the opener, and then they went multiple games without a turnover. So,
Well, no, but remember like Mike last year saying, you just got to trust the process. You just got to keep going. You just got to keep going. This year, he can point to that as proof that the process works, but also just that the effort that he wants to see on defense has been there week in and week out.
Let's keep it going. We got several games to play. I mean, I think takeaways are a function of like how well you're playing on defense, how the speed and the like aggressiveness, physicality. The ball seems to come alive when you play with that type of energy. And our guys are doing that right now, which is great. And we got to keep doing it. And it comes with complementary football, understanding when you can take your ops, attacking the ball when it's in the air. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it. And our guys are determined to attack the rock right now, which is something we need to keep going. I'm actually disappointed because so often if we ask Mike Macdonald about interceptions or the pass rush, he always connects it. He did say complementary football, but he loves to talk about pass rush and the coverage working together. Yes. And I'm kind of surprised he didn't drop that into that answer.
Is that what you were hoping for?
I was expecting it. Like when the question was asked, I was like, he's definitely going to, because it's true. Like a big reason you're making all these plays on the back end is that front four is playing so well and getting pressure with four, which obviously leaves you more guys in coverage to make these plays.
You know what I found interesting when I was listening to Mike talk about that is you're talking about kind of the overall effort of the defense, and it should be showing up like that. Look at Tampa's numbers. Mm-hmm. Tampa's numbers, they have 1 interception on the year. They have 1 dropped interception against the Eagles last week. They had 0 takeaways. They've had 1 fumble recovery, 1 interception in 4 games.
Which is interesting when you look at like the overall defensive stats. These guys are playing good defense.
Yeah, that's what
I'm
saying.
Where are the takeaways?
That's what I'm saying, right? Like sometimes that number is not indicative of how they're truly playing, but in this case for the Seahawks, I think that it is one of those prime numbers to look out for. And, I think that goes right into the conversation on Leonard Williams. I'm going to join, not the bandwagon, I am going to join the crowd of people that wants to see Leonard Williams recognized for how good he really is.
I know. It was so
Every week, we're going to have a Leonard Williams segment on this show.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do.
Last week, I mean, he was clearly one of, if not the best interior lineman in football last year. And to not be an All-Pro and to have to wait to get the Pro Bowl call as an alternate, like, it's cool that his resume says Pro Bowl and he deserves it, but, like, he shouldn't have to wait for those accolades. He is playing so well, and he's kind of making that go for all those guys. I mean, we talk about how Byron Murphy and all these guys are playing. Like so much of that starts with Leonard.
It does. And Mike Macdonald realizes this. I know that you at home realize this, but let's just put a fine point on this conversation and what Leonard Williams is doing.
Well, he affects it greatly. I think he'd be the one to tell you that. Like I think where our front generates their impact, I think, is the synergy of how they work together. So I think a lot of guys deserve recognition for that, and how there's a lot of unselfish football going on where the guys are determined to work together and they're determined for the effectiveness of the group rather than just individual accolades. And I've answered this before, but they're not worried about who gets the one-on-one, who gets to go, who gets the two-way go, who's the guy that's going to drop, it's like there's no drag with that group, and it's really cool. I love no drag with the group. That's a good phrase. I really like that.
Right.
And that's not,
also, do you feel like I'm dragging you down some days, John?
Never.
This could also be just
lift us up, Jen.
Thank you. Gosh.
No,
it's just teed you right up.
I mean, that sounds kind of like coach speak, but that's a real thing at that position group because, guys, look, their paychecks are affected by sacks.
That's exactly what I was just going to say.
It's one thing to say, we're all on the same, it's easy to talk about getting guys all on the same page and working together as a team and do it for the team, but, these guys are thinking about their futures as they should be. We see it all the time in the league. Careers can be short in this league and things can happen to contracts. And so to get everybody on board, this is the best way to play as a team, and maybe you don't get all the opportunities. Look at the edge guys right now. They are playing so well and no sacks out of that group.
Exactly.
If you look at Boye Mafe, Derek Hall, Chenna did get 2 last week. But
he did.
Before Chenna got on the board, that group of DeMarcus Lawrence, Boye, and Derek Hall were playing awesome with no sacks to show for it. And that's the kind of thing where it's some guys could pout and be create more opportunities for me, make it happen. But they're playing so well together as a group.
It really is fun because I was going to say the exact same thing. Some of those guys have contracts coming up. And then you look at the stats and you go, why would I pay this guy? And you really have to be kind of in that room or in the organization to see the impact that they are making. So I think that that's really cool. It all starts with Leonard Williams. And we are going to start with what we think the Seahawks need to do to get a win right after we hear a word from our presenting sponsor.
Seahawks fans, 12 Status is back benefiting you this season. 1 passing yard gets you 1 mile all Seahawks season long. 12 Status members get priority boarding out of SeaTac all Seahawks season long. And 12 Status members get a 12% discount at the Seahawks Pro Shop on the 12th of each month. Sign up now at 12status.com.
John, do you want to go first or would you like for me to go first?
I'm going to let you go.
Oh, I don't know if that's because he's being kind or because he's still thinking about the two
I have
things.
one I really
like,
and I have a few others I'm undecided on, so don't take the one I like.
Is it about special teams?
Yes.
The fact that Tampa's allowed 2 blocked punts in the last 3 weeks?
Yes. And the Seahawks have been one of the best special teams teams in the NFL, creating big plays.
Yep. We can share that one.
Yeah.
We'll share that one. Yeah. I want a big play on special teams. You know what else shows up is the return game, the punt return, right? And now Torrey Horton's yards are a little bit skewed because of that big punt return.
He did something awesome.
Right, because he did something awesome. So it's really hard to tell. But right now, he is third most when it comes to average yards per return with 20, just a little over 20. Cameron Johnson, the Bucs returner, he's 4th best in the league. So, look, we all know that Torrey can get out there and run. Yeah, big special teams play on that. And for as much as we talked about how great that defense is against the run, I want to see a number of rushing attempts.
Yeah.
Right? Because Mike was talking about you can't look at the statistics and change your game plan, right? I would like to see over 100 yards rushing. And I would like to see K9 be the first running back to go over 50 against them this year.
Well, let's do it. Charbonnet could do it too.
Could
I'm fine
do
with
it. You're
either
right.
one.
Actually, you know what? Why limit it to one?
Why not both?
How might both? Look at us thinking so big and grandiose. What's the other thing you would like to see, John?
We talked about the interceptions earlier, and the Seahawks are getting them. Baker Mayfield is not throwing them. Last year, he had a great season, but he threw 16 picks. I believe that led the NFL or tied for the lead. This year, he's only thrown 1. He's doing a really good job taking care of the ball. So let's see the Seahawks continue on there and getting those takeaways and force some bad decisions from Baker Mayfield.
Okay. I feel like John gets the final word on that. I like it. We'll see how it all plays out on Sunday in our throwback game as we honor the 50 greatest players in Seahawks history. And we'll see you next time.